Good stuff. That's a good start, isn't it? Phew. Okay. So yeah, welcome everybody. I hope you're all well. Bit warmer at the minute, isn't it? So I think we're seeing all them some insects popping out. I'm certainly seeing some ladybirds hovering around my garage and outside. So yeah, that's a strange weather at the minute. But I'm sure we'll get a cold snap again at some point, which will destroy everything. But anyway, we're not talking about insects. We're talking about codes of practice. It's the agenda for today. I can't cover everything, obviously, but I thought the most important bits just understanding what an approved code of practice. So ACOP, that's what ACOP is, an approved code of practice, and then also BPCA codes of best practice. Now that warning, mostly health and safety related, that's more to do with the approved code of practice that I'm going to talk about rather than our ones. But it'll all become clear. It'll all become clear as I'm going through, as always. I'm always very clear. And then a bit of adoption and conformity. So how you can use it in the best way. So not just it's a BPCA document that I've got to follow. You can use it for some really useful things, be it your customers or your training, etc. So yeah, I'm gonna go into that a bit. And hopefully you've got some really good questions for me. I always like the questions. It challenges me to, come up with answers on the spot. And if I can't, I'll pass it over to Kat and she'll just have to answer it for me. Okay, that's what I'm going to say. I won't, Kat, sorry. Okay, you see, I'm in a funny mood today, aren't I? Great, have to be with these technical problems. Anyway, good. Approved codes of practice then. So just, again, I'm not going to go into the whole how the law and legislation works in the UK, but just as a brief overview, as a lot of us probably know, UK legislation starts with acts of parliament. So just to keep it in line with a few of the subjects we're talking about, health and safety, you'll have the Health and Safety at Work Act. So that's the big bit of legislation that governs health and safety. And then you'll also have regulations that then will come within those pieces of acted legislation. So these regulations are, for example, the Management of Health and Safety at Work regulation. So it complements the Act. It gives more detail to more specific areas. So, if there's a prosecutor or the courts or an officer of the law that's trying to, prosecute someone for a particular reason, they'll normally use an act of legislation to go through with that prosecution. But they will always normally also use the regulations as more guidance on what that person should have been doing, what guidance there is. So, for example, risk assessments, you have the Health and Safety at Work Act that says you have got to protect your employees. And then the regulation, the Management of Health and Safety at Work regulations, gives that employer more detail on what exactly does that mean. You need to do risk assessments. You need to do them regularly. You need to do it in this format. If you've got this amount of employees, you definitely need to do this and you definitely need to do that. It's more descriptive, a regulation. And then under that, we also have then approved codes of best practice. Now, these aren't necessarily used as often, but they're certainly important. And as you can imagine, if a regulation is detailed, an approved code of practice is even more detailed to give more guidance and more understanding of what that subject is. So, if employers who are prosecuted for a breach of, for example, health and safety law, if, say, for example, that lawyer, those barristers are in that court kind of debating, they may bring it up and say, look, this approved code of best practice that the HSE developed, they haven't followed this section. So even though that's maybe not necessarily an actual break of legislation, it's an approved code of practice. They should have been following it. So in our opinion, they are absolutely liable. So they can use them. As I said, it's not normally, employers aren't prosecuted for a breach of an approved code of practice. It's normally that's what they normally are prosecuted rather than a defence. It's not normally there as a defence. So I hope that makes a bit of sense. We've got acts of legislation, we've got regulations, and then approved codes of practice. Okay. Now, in terms of approved code of practice, we don't necessarily have any specifically in pest management. And I've got to put a bit in there saying, or do we really? So this is just something to have a think about. This is as far as I'm going to go with talking about this particular one. But so CREW, the Campaign for Responsible Rodenticide Use, they have a code of best practice, don't they, for the safe use of rodenticides. Now, is that an approved code of best practice? The title doesn't necessarily say it's an approved code of practice, but again, hopefully, any of you that are thinking about what I'm about to say is, oh, I forgot about that, or I didn't realize that. It's some extra reading for you to do and extra studying, because I'm not going to go into that much more detail. But the label of the products you're using, most rodenticides will have, not most, all rodenticides will have the statement about the crew codes of best practice. But as an example, one of them will say, it's only to be used by professional users holding certification, okay, demonstrating compliance with the UK rodenticide stewardship regime requirements. Now, that's the crew stewardship. You need to read the label, and this bit's really important. So the user must refer to the crew UK code of best practice or equivalent for guidance. Now, that is stated on the label of that product you're using. Now, as we all know, rodenticides approved through the biocidal product regulations. So that code of practice is legislation by way of the label, if we really think about it. So even though maybe the references are not there in terms of approved codes of best practice, it is an approved code of best practice in a way of, if you don't follow that, you could very easily that could be used against you in a court of law if you weren't to follow it. Absolutely. So really important you're very familiar with that, and great training document as well. Crew have, loads of sort of CPD supporting materials, presentations, training documents. So make sure you have a good look. But remember that the code of best practice that Crew created is mentioned on that product label. So it is legislation to follow it. Okay. But yeah, other than that, they're the main ones. So going on to use my keypad here. Just as an example of an approved code of practice, thought it'd be useful for you, the control of substances hazardous to health. So even though I say there's nothing specific to the pest management industry, of course, COSH is totally specific to the pest management industry. And as you can see down the bottom of that page, it says approved code of practice, and it says for guidance. But again, these words are quite key in law, and I'm not going to go into it. But it's for guidance. It's generally it's not used in courts of law or for legislation, but it could be, like I mentioned before. So it outlines the preferred or recommended methods that can be used to comply with the regulations. And of course, if you were unfortunate enough to end up in a court of law and you'd, maybe COSH related, chemical related, then there is a possibility this code of practice or approved code of practice could be used by, a prosecuting party to say, well, you didn't follow this and someone got hurt. Okay. So 100 pages long, as you can see there. So they are a lot more detailed. And of course, I'm not going to be testing you on what all these documents say. That comes for the next webinar. So I expect you all to be there. I'm sure you will. So yeah, it's just a good example. Okay. So any standard guidance or industry best practice is capable of being used in evidence in a trial, like I said. So really that brings us to the pest management industry. Now, we generally under the approved code of best practice banner, you have industry codes of practice, or as we now term them, codes of best practice for that industry. They're kind of dotted around, there's different organizations that have their own codes of best practice that they adopt as the foundation for their professional expectations. So, talking about BPCA, anybody that is a BPCA member on applying, on being approved for membership, you are signing to say, I will follow all of BPCA's codes of best practice. Okay. We strive to continually improve the standards within the pest control industry, and that's through professionalism and trying to, support you and help you understand what it is to be professional. If you run your own business, or you might be a technician, of course, you want to get the job done. It's a commercial industry, whether it's domestic or commercial sites, you're, getting paid to do some work. And of course, that's important. But, nothing else comes along with that other than professionalism. You can't do that job. You can't provide that, chargeable service without being a professional. And that is the core of BPCA's ethos. And certainly the one thing that I care the most about is that our members are professional, and that when we say to our customer, when we say to those end users, John Doe, Jane Smith, use one of our members, use a BPCA member, because they're professional and they follow our codes of best practice. And if they don't follow our code of practice, tell us about it, and we'll support them into making sure they do. Okay, that's really all we care about, is that you're supported, and that you're supported in such a way that you can become the best professional that you possibly can be. Okay. But as I said, to become a BPCA member, strict criteria with these, and they have to be followed. How they come about. Let's go on to how they come about. I think that's the next slide there, because I wanted you to know a bit about that. Why would you bother to follow these codes? So of course, members can be clear on what we expect. So, and listen, this is important to people who are not BPCA members as well. If you're not a BPCA member, or you don't know much about what we do, this is important to you, because yes, if you are a BPCA member, you have to follow these codes. If you're not a BPCA member, still follow these codes. They'll help you out. They will guide you in a way. They're freely available. You don't have to have a login to our website to get access to them. You can, any member of the public can get access to them. You can have a read through them. It's not guidance. It is a code. It's you won't do this, you will do that. It's the things that we say, look, it's unacceptable for you to do these things, so make sure you do these things. I'll give you a specific example in a moment, but as a generic, they are for everybody. But certainly, of course, our members, we are very strict on making sure they follow them. So again, members can be clear on what we expect. Okay. If there's any confusion about what BPCA expects from you in the field of treatment reports, for example, we have a code of best practice you can go to and say, this is exactly what BPCA require from me. I'll make sure I've got it in place. Okay, they're normally 2 pages long. They're not guidance documents, like I said, they're codes. They are there to tell you what you really shouldn't be doing and what you really should be doing. All right, they're not massive documents. They benefit in some ways. Okay, so again, members can be clear what we expect. And also your customers can see them. So like I said, all BPCA codes are freely available. If you are carrying out something to do with, I'm trying to pick one up, at the top of my head, we've got so many of them, storage of pesticides in your vehicle, for example, and your customers question you about it for some reason, you can say, look, I follow the BPCA codes of practice, there's a copy, or go to their website, have a look. This is how I manage my pesticides and the storage of them. Got any questions, come back to me. You can use them for your customers as well. They can see what they expect from you. And also, codes of best practice exist for areas that are deemed as needing stricter expectations. So again, I'm going to use this example, and I have used it later on for treatment reports because it's the most recent one that we've done. Where there's a certain area where we find there is an issue, or maybe members are not quite clear on what the expectation is, then again, we deem it as necessary of having a new code of best practice. We don't just sit there trying to come up with them, as a random kind of, what can we do today? We generally rely on you guys. And again, I'll come on to that in a moment. So yes, it's for areas that are maybe, some grey areas. Maybe there's not an approved code of practice, or maybe the legislation's a little bit grey. I mean, waste is one of them, isn't it? When you come to your pesticide waste, or your PPE, or your cardboard waste, your business waste, kind of like, I don't really know what I'm meant to be doing with this, to be honest. Well, we've got a code of best practice for it, okay? Tells you what you need to do, tells you what you shouldn't do. We also have guidance notes. I'll come on to that in a bit. I might get to guidance notes, but this is about codes of best practice, isn't it? So, we might come to that. But waste, treatment reports, all sorts there for you. We also use them as a tool to improve the industry. Now, some of you may have experienced me getting in touch with you. Maybe a customer has, got in touch with the BPCA to say, look, I've had a member out. There's been some problems with the work that they've done, a bit concerned about what they have or haven't done. And that's the way that we, police the industry or police our members, of course, but more importantly, it's how we, measure our members and say, oh, okay, there's something missing here. There's been a problem. It looks like some work you've carried out is not in line with one of our codes. Tell you what, let's make sure it is. What can we do? What's gone wrong? Let's have a look at what's gone wrong, what hasn't been addressed in terms of our code of best practice, and we'll help you put it right. So it's a tool to improve, not just our members, but the industry. So again, like I said, you don't have to be a BPCA member to, kind of adopt these into your business. You really don't, and I'll encourage it. We're not going to charge you for, putting our codes of best practice, in your office or wherever. We're, at the end of the day, we want to improve the industry. Okay, not just about BPCA members. We want to improve the industry, and then hopefully you'll think, wow, BPCA, Natalie, oh, you're great, you're amazing. I'm going to, come over to BPCA because, again, you're amazing, and no technical problems with webinars and stuff. I've said it now, haven't I? Anyway, I'm going to take that back. So yeah, improve the industry, really, really important. And then also it helps you to follow the law. So that's the, all this, I'm talking about professionalism and the way we want to improve the industry. And, you can use it for, your customers and show them what you do and don't do. But at the end of the day, it also helps you follow the law. So part of the creation of a code of best practice is that we, BPCA as a whole, again, I'll come on to who those people are in a moment. We sit down, we go through what the law says. What do you legally need to do? So, with treatment reports, for example, the legal reasons you need to do one, maybe COSH, maybe, you've got to tell your customers what pesticides you're using. You've got to say to them, right, I'm using this active ingredient and I've used it there. If you have any problems, this is what you need to do. That's part of law, really, isn't it? You've got to tell your customers what you're using. So, and then other bits to it might be more best practice. So, it's best practice to make sure you really detail your recommendations, and it's best practice to make sure maybe you put your technician's name on there as well. That's not necessarily legislation, but it's certainly best practice and what we would expect from a BPCA member and the industry, to be honest. But yeah, the law bit is always in there. We always make sure that codes of best practice cover the minimum requirements for legal use or legal practice. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of how, why you should follow them. Hopefully I've been enthusiastic enough about that, because I really am. This is really the foundation of BPCA. Without these codes of best practice, then who knows what our standards are? Who knows what we expect from our members? How would you know? You wouldn't know, because it's not written down anywhere. Okay. So codes of best practice, really important for everybody. Okay. So yeah, these codes of practice then, who sits there doing them? Is it me? Is it Kat? Is it, I'm not sure. Okay. So codes of practice, really, it's you, as we put there. I don't know how familiar all of you are with BPCA and how we are structured, but as a brief, we're structured, said very basically, of a executive board, of committees, special interest groups, working groups, and then the staff team. The executive board comes usually at the top there. I've got it around the arrows around the wrong way. Apologies about that. But that's kind of the structure. So, there might be, let's say for an example, this is an example, the treatment report one we've done recently, for example, last year, some complaints came in, some issues with, members as well as non-members. And I found sometimes, or as quite a regular occurrence, that there was a problem with the quality of treatment reports. Sorry, everybody, my voice is going. I talk too much, you see. So yes, the last year noticed that, a lot of the issues coming through to us, or I say complaints, I don't like that word, but, I can't think of any others yet on my feet. So let's just use the word complaint, about maybe some work that had been done or the information had been pretty bad. Now, a common, I would say 80% of the complaints that we looked at, the treatment reports are either non-existent, or they were just lacking in detail, lacking in clarity. Your and the end users, they don't know about pest control. They don't know what you're talking about. They don't know what rodenticide means even. They really don't. So yeah, that was a topic we came up with. And also air guns, that was a couple of years ago. I think, blimey, do you know what? That's probably longer. No, we updated it last year, but we did first develop it a couple of years ago. And again, it's not a guidance. It's not there to tell you the ins and outs of air rifles and how they work and how you clean them and so on and so forth. That's not for us to do. It's make sure you're competent. If you're in Scotland, make sure you got a license. If you're carrying it in your vehicle, make sure you do this, make sure you do that. That's what the codes are about. Okay. But as I said, going back to the treatment report one, I sort of thought, you know what? I think we need a code of best practice here on treatment reports. So we took it to obviously the board. They said, yeah, brilliant. Then servicing committees and a couple of others. And they said, yeah, great idea. Let's do it. And then the staff team. So normally the staff team and BPCA will work on it. We'll do that work for you because these committees and these executive boards are made up of you. Any of you that are BPCA members out there, you can join a committee or you can join the executive board. Of course, you've got to apply for it. There's an application process, which we can talk to about you another time. But they're you. It's you. All these decisions are not made by me or Dee or Ian, our CEO, or Lorraine, our ops manager. It's made by you guys. You say, actually, Natalie, you're talking rubbish. We don't want that. Off you go. Happens sometimes, and other times you go, yeah, do you know what? That's a really good idea. Let's do it. So do the groundwork for us. Get some code of practice together. Get a little bit of meat behind the bones, if you like, and we'll go from there. So that's what we do. We get together. Let me go on to the next page. No, you know what? I'm going to go forward a little bit just to give you an example. Hang on, where is it? So I'm going to go back again, I promise. Right, I just want this as an example. So, we'll put the bones together. We'll say, right, as you can see, 2 pages. Does this look like a complicated document that you just think, I have got no interest in reading that? It's not, is it? It's 2 pages. It's don't do this. You must do that. Okay, so we put the bones together. I'm going to go back again now. And once we've done that, we'll take it to the servicing committee and we'll say, right, what do you think of this? What do you think of this code we put together? Tell us what we're missing, because we do. We for one person to sit there and write a code of practice, it's just not professional. We're talking about professionalism. It's not. You start with it, another person looks at it, puts their input. We give it to you guys in the committees and say, what do you think? And okay, miss that bit out. Or actually, we don't like that bit. And that's a bit, maybe a bit too high above the grade, if you like, or too much expectation. Let's take that bit out. And again, it's all a discussion between us and you. And then eventually, once we've got a nice fancy code of best practice put together, it'll get authorized by the exec board. And yeah, off it comes out to you. And I think the last one you probably would have seen would have been December. Yeah, November, December. And that was the treatment report one. And again, they're there because a problem has been flagged up or, a need for something more detailed, just to give you guys this is what you should be doing, this is what you shouldn't be doing. Okay. That's the main thing for it. So again, we're, our staff team, we're here on your pleasure, really. As I said, you guys are the ones that run the BPCA. You tell us what you want, you tell us what you don't want, and we'll put it into practice as best as we can. All right. So really remember that, get involved. Tell us what you want. All right. If there's any other ideas. Okay. How am I getting on with time? We're good. Okay. So these are just some graphics here. These, examples of the ones we've got. I think it's not a complete list. Well, it might be a complete list, actually. Blimey. How'd you get them all onto one page? Well done, Scott. But so these top 12 there, as you can see, the BPCA ones. We've got Burge Management and Control. That's a really new one. Obviously, with the legislation changes, we've updated that. Bed bar control, reports, surveys, live capture trapping. Blimey, we've got a few there, haven't we? But we've also got at the bottom there, you've got the codes of practice that the BPCA hasn't necessarily written itself, might have been involved with, but we've adopted them. So the crew code of best practice, the BPCA didn't like that, but we've adopted it. Of course we have, so that's part of our criteria for members to follow these codes of practice that we've adopted from external organizations. Now, of course, the Pest Management Alliance, the PMA, the BPCA are involved in that, CIH, MPTA, we all get together and we're all part of that. And we sometimes develop things, but again, it's not a BPCA document, it's a PMA document that we've adopted, and we do adopt them. So you can see there what we got there. So humane use of breakback traps. Again, so if there's a code of best practice that the PMA have, the BPCA are not going to create a brand new one to compete with it. There's no point. It's a great document. It's really great. And I think that's one page. Good for you guys to read. And again, these are all things that hopefully you're thinking to yourself, I am going to go and read that. And we've got, honeybees. And I can't, what was that one? Oh, glue boards. Of course, glue boards are a really important subject. Don't get me started on that. But really, really important that we follow these codes, okay? Not just if you're a BPCA member, but anybody, please. Okay. So again, I've babbled on about professional reports. We've called it the Code of Best Practice for Professional Reports. Now, of course, some of us may still do it on paper. Some of us may do it electronic. Some may, do it on paper, but take a photograph of it and email it to our members. There's different ways we do it. It doesn't necessarily matter. But the important thing is we did find a common problem with them. And that's that either they weren't doing them at all, or they weren't doing enough. Weren't given the right information. So we thought, what? Let's get a code of best practice, because that helps us to help our members, okay? And also let customers understand what they should expect from their members as well. Again, I popped this up earlier, just as a visual. I'm sure maybe you've picked up some bits in there, but start with the points 1 to 11 are the real kind of right. Do this, don't do that. Every visit you carry out, you must complete a detailed report and leave a copy with the customer. I mean, that's number one. There is absolutely nothing anybody can say to me or anyone else in the BPCA that will make me go, oh, all right, fair enough that you didn't leave a treatment report with your customer. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean, or maybe, injury, or, I don't know, the wind blew it out your hand or so, being silly now, but there is nothing you can tell me that would be a good reason why you didn't leave some form of information with your customer. All right. And there's another point in here. Oh, there we go. Actually, point number 2. So this was another really important one. In the instance that you have multiple customers, so a tenant or a landlord, for example, housing association or a council you might be working with, or you're just working for a private landlord that's got a private tenant, okay, you must ensure the occupier of the premises has details on the actions that you've taken. So this is one of the problems I found, is that when you've got multiple parties, so you're getting paid by the landlord, but you're doing work in a tenanted property where you've got, John Doe living there. Now, John Doe needs a treatment report more importantly than that paying customer. I mean this with all due respect, but in terms of professionalism, I don't care how you get paid or where your invoice goes, and go where it wants to go. But your treatment report on the pest activity or the pest management activities you've carried out and the pesticides you've used, that goes to the tenant. It can go to the landlord as well, of course it can, but it's not acceptable for it to go to the landlord and miss the tenant. Not acceptable, because they are the one it matters to. They are the one living there. They are the one that's affected by your treatment. They are the ones that need to know what you've done. And even say, if you say, oh, well, my landlord said that they would give them a copy, it doesn't matter, because evidence shows from many times that I've contacted, or dealt with complaint issues, that doesn't always happen. Yeah, I'll leave a copy with them. I'll email them a copy. Don't worry, Natalie, I'll do that. Does it happen? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they made a cup of coffee and forgot about it. I don't know. But you can't rely on somebody else to pass on information that's as important as a treatment report. Okay, I'm not going to go through the whole code, of course. A, you haven't got time. B, you probably don't want me to. And C, it's there for you to download and have a look if you want to. But, you probably possibly flick through as I've been babbling on. Or, obviously important stuff, I'm not babbling, but it's really, really important. I'm really passionate about these codes because, You know, we might moan about how people see pest controllers or the pest management industry and, oh, you're a rat catcher, or that job looks easy, or you're a bed bug lady, as I used to get called all the time, which was joyous, of course, or you're the drain person. Great. We want to know, I'm a professional pest management officer. Thank you very much. And you know, why should they call us that? Why should they call us that? Because we follow codes of best practice, because we are professional. We're not just, you know, taking a bit of money and, you know, maybe shooting an odd pest here or there. I mean, that's fine if you do that. But, you know, we are professional pest management officers, whatever you want to call yourself, but professional is the word. Okay. No doubt about it. And the only way we can make sure that happens is by creating things like this that you guys can use as your foundation. Build on it, be more professional than this, you know, go over and above what these codes say. But, you know, as a foundation, you know, use them, because, you know, at the end of the day, we try our best to influence the industry and make it more professional in terms of how the outside world sees us. But we can only do that if you support us and you work with us. Okay. We haven't got a magic wand, unfortunately. Magic wand, there we go. Everyone thinks we've got a magic wand, don't they? Generally, as the industry. So yes, hopefully I've got that across. Do it, follow them, okay? So this is the last bit, and then I'm going to go on to some questions. We've got a few popped up, but using the code of practice, training, you know, do a toolbox talk on a code of best practice. You know, sit down there, whether it's just you reading it, that's fine. You know, that's a CPD point in itself. If you've got some technicians, sit down in a toolbox talk in a team meeting and go, oh, guys, is a treatment report code of practice here. I just want to make sure you as my employees understand what we need you to do in the field when you're filling out treatment reports. Because let's be honest, they're lone workers. They're out there doing pest management under your company name in the field on their own. So you want to make sure they're totally clear on what they should and shouldn't be doing in terms of treatment reports or other things. I'm just using that as an example. And go through it with them. Like I said, it's 2 pages. You're not going to be there all day. Okay, you're not going to be there all day. Do a toolbox talk on it. Get people's thoughts. You know, get your thoughts back to us. If you read a code of best practice that we've done, email me, it's fine, or anyone at BPCA, technical at bpca.org.uk, whatever, and say, oh, Natalie, D, whoever, seen a code of best practice on your reports. I think that's great. Or I'm not too big a fan. What about this bit? Ask us questions about it, because if you're unclear about what something says, we'll go, A, we'll make it clearer for you, but B, we'll go, oh, maybe we need to add a bit more to that to make it clearer. Thank you for bringing that up to us. If you think there's a code that we haven't got that we should have, again, tell us about it. We're not going to be able to create every single code everybody might want, but you know, it's a process. We can take it to the committees, take it to the boards and go, look, there's been a good suggestion here, we think. What about it? Shall we do it? And hopefully you guys, agree, and we can do that. So training toolbox talks, use them. Customer folders, like I said, if you're doing some work and I'm trying to come up, let's say you're doing an intensive glue board treatment for a city where you've got a massive problem, you're trying to get hold of it, then stick the code of best practice in there. If you're maybe your paperwork and a customer is sort of saying, oh, I don't really want this paperwork you're giving me, put the treatment report code of best practice in their folder as reference for them, just to remind them, just slip it under their nose, I need to do this. It's not just something I'm doing to annoy you. I need to do these things. Okay. So, and when in work, again, that goes without saying, of course, telling your customers that you follow these things and that, you need to be considered for that work. Okay. So yeah, that was a flyby guide to, obviously I mentioned approved codes of best practice, but that was more to bring us on to the industry codes of best practice. There are other organizations that, do their own industry codes of best practice. It might be BASC, it might be MPTA, it might be other associations or organizations. And of course, they're all worth a good look at. But BPCA codes of best practice, members have to follow them. No choice. No kind of, it's a Tuesday, don't fancy it today. No choice at all. And then if you're not a BPCA member, of course, what are you doing? Become a member, But if you're not, still follow them, still use them, still, use them for a tool to, get the industry, back on the forefront of the mind in terms of professionalism. Okay, before we go into questions, I just wanted to mention a charity that we are supporting as the BPCA, Prostate Cancer UK. Now, listen, you guys, there's possibly charities that you're all supporting individually. It may be Prostate Cancer UK, it may not. Appreciate you can't donate to every charity, but I do ask that if you can, I really do encourage, to donate anything you can. Next month, the BPCA, we're doing, what's it called? March for March, that's it. So we've got to do 11,000 steps every day throughout the whole of March. We're keeping a little spreadsheet going and live, and we'll be updating you all on what we're doing. Of course, if we go over that, we're going to brag about it on social media. But yeah, we're doing 11,000 steps a day. Easier for some maybe than others. I've got dogs. It'd probably be quite easy for me, to be honest. I'm quite lucky, but some who haven't and maybe got some challenging kids they got to run around after. Well, actually, you can get your steps in that way, can't you? Running around after your kids. But yeah, so we're committing to that, and that starts on Monday. So, but you guys, if you wanted to do anything similar, let us know about it. We can get it out on social media for you, and even support you in that. Or if you just want to donate a little bit of money, that'd be great. Really great cause. The 11,000 steps is due to the 11,000 men that suffer with prostate cancer every year. So yeah, really important. Okay, fab. I'm gonna go on to questions now. Oh no, I'm not going to go back up. Natalie, what are you doing? This isn't technical problems, everyone. This is just me pressing the wrong button. There we go. Okay. Thank you for listening. I am going to stop sharing. Hope everything's going to go fine. Good. Right. 7 questions. Let's have a little nose. Okay. Hopefully not. Don't be mean to me. All right. Okay, so risk assessments don't have to be written for less than 5 employees. Is that the same for cost assessments? Really amazing question, Mark. So, I do a bit of health and safety auditing, and this is a common thing. So, in terms of cost legislation, so the control of substances hazardous to health, the requirement is that any employer that has an employee that's using a product, or if you're using a product, a pesticide, let's use insecticide, for example. If you're using an insecticide on a customer's site, then you need, as the buyer, as the user of that product, to do a cost assessment. Now, in terms of writing it down, why on earth would you not? That is my first thing. In terms of formally, like you said, if you're under 5 employees, it's a bit grey on whether you have to. But let me tell you this. If you end up in court, because if you're a sole trader, it doesn't matter. Just because if you haven't got technicians, doesn't matter. If you end up in court because John Doe has decided he's got a skin irritation due to a product that you've applied, trying to get some money out of you, if you haven't got a cost assessment written down, you're not going to be in great stead with that. I say jury. I don't think it would go as far as a jury, but you never know. I don't think you'll be in great stead with that judgment. Because how else can you prove that you assess that product you're using? How can you prove it? By just saying it? We know that doesn't work. So although, yes, the recording of it, a formal cost assessment written down in a, generic format in terms of that product, not necessarily, but I hate saying that because you should, all right? Even if it's on your treatment report, you have a section there, or you have a site-specific cost assessment, but why not do a generic one? Once a year, sit down with the label of the product, the MSDS sheet of the product, and look at it and go, yeah, this product's got a few problems, but I'll make sure I don't do that with it. And I'll make sure my customers have got the detail. And, if anybody has any problem, I can give them this cost assessment and show them that I have assessed it. So yeah, good question, Mark. It's tricky, but do a cost assessment. It's once a year, a portfolio of them for each product. It's not just as a generic thing, but for each product. Okay. Okay. So James, where can you buy fully compliant treatment report pads with a copy for us and a copy for customers? Well, James, BPCA has now got its own template. Of course, it's only available for BPCA members. It's got the logo on there. And what we've done is created a template that you don't have to use. BPCA members don't have to use it, but this is what you need to have on your treatment report as a minimum, really. Really all the stuff that I've mentioned that come in that code of best practice. So we do a template. If you're not a BPCA member, speak to your suppliers. Again, if you have a look at our code of best practice, it'll tell you what you need. But certainly, your site details, what you're doing, what products you're using, what recommendations you have for your customer, the dates, obviously, that you're there, the follow-ups that you might be doing. And then really important, that counter signature. If you're signing it, say, yep, James Simpson has been here today and, carried out this treatment. You want John Doe to sign it as well, because that's your defense. If you tell John Doe to don't touch that, I've put that over there, don't touch it for an hour, all right? And he does, if you haven't got any evidence to say that you told him not to touch that thing, then again, you could end up in trouble, but also for you, again, telling your customers what's going on. Why wouldn't you? No, why wouldn't you want to tell them that? So yeah, that's just an example of, the important sections, in terms of counter signatures, really important. If you don't have that counter signature there, well, of course they could say, you didn't tell me that. I've had that happen. Not with me, with someone else, of course. So yeah, fully compliant. We'd have one, but also speak to your suppliers. They normally have templates of treatment reports. Okay. Where are we going? So let me just get rid of those questions. Okay, so Hasmuka, can I download a code of practice for reference if I'm an affiliate member? Absolutely, no problem. You might put that question in there before I mentioned it, but yes, they are available to everyone. Your family can download them if they want, and your customers, you can if you're a member, you can if you're not a member, don't mind. Absolutely. They're on our website under advice. If you hover over the section that says advice at the top, you'll see it flip down to codes and documents, and you'll be able to see it there. Okay. During COVID, this is from Andrew. During COVID, some sites don't want to sign a document. Is that acceptable if detailed in the COVID policy? So, Andrew, yeah, I've come across that, absolutely. And of course, in these difficult times, things have been adapted and changed. And, even certifications or legislation that requires certain things, in some instances, they've given 6-month extensions, to say, look, if that thing's due legally, we'll give you another 6 months just to, because of COVID and difficulty with training or, getting qualifications done if they're not online. And, there's lots of leniency that's gone on with it. And yeah, I think, during COVID, if it's genuine as well, of course, I don't want that COVID policy to go on, hopefully, past 21st of June when we might be allowed out again. Absolutely. I think if you've got a COVID policy that you don't want people signing the document, then it can be reasonable. Why not take a photograph of that document and email it to them? That's what I would personally do. Again, because if you need it, in the instance you end up in court, it still wouldn't matter because there's still no evidence there that they actually understood everything you said by signing the report. I certainly wouldn't get too upset if a member, hadn't got a counter signature on a treatment report during COVID, if there's reason behind it. But in a legal sense, in a court of law sense, compensation, civil law, criminal law, whatever, then it won't matter too much, I don't think. But take a photograph of it. Why not? Get your phone, take a photograph. What's your email? What's your WhatsApp number? Whatever other platforms available, and pop it over. Maybe that's an idea. But yeah, really good question, Andrew. Thank you. Another Andrew here, Tyson. So we use handwritten reports. Great. We have stopped asking tenants to sign as we are trying to follow COVID protocol, not sharing pens. Instead, we ask if we can write tenants' initials on the report. Is this okay? Yeah, so I've read that out. I just answered it again there, I think, beforehand. You can do, yeah, absolutely. The best case scenario is that you can get that evidence if you can. But we're certainly not going to be, bashing anyone around the head with, we didn't get a signature and, COVID and stuff. So, but legally in a court of law, it might not matter too much. So Anonymous here, what do you recommend if clients don't want a copy of the report due to COVID transmissions? Email it to them. Say you are going to have a report. Like that. All right, you don't want a report, take a photo of it. Yeah. They normally give you your email. Okay, they might not give you the email. If you've got their mobile number, text them an image of it. You'll have evidence of that text then if you need it. You're kind of like that. Well, I can't stop you from emailing it to them. At the end of the day, it's your professional and legal requirement to try and do so. So, anonymous attendee, if you, if they refuse it, my recommendation is send it to them anyway. But say, yes, no problem, customer. I completely understand your concerns. Take them on board. I do need to get this information to you, however. So I'm going to send it to you electronically, please. Thank you. Merci. I don't know any other languages. Yeah, good. Okay, so another Andrew. There's lots of Andrews here today. It's brilliant. It's my brother's name as well, Andrew. Brilliant name. So Andrew Mingo, I'm a member of CIH. I have completed a higher certificate in food premises inspection, but however, I have not yet complete my logbook, but I want to cross over to become a pest control officer. Well, Andrew, it's an amazing idea. Pest control is the best thing ever, honestly. You either love it or hate it, I think. I think everyone on here can probably agree. It's one of those industries you get into and you either go, it's not for me within sort of a few months, or, well, like me, 19 years later, you're still in it. So yeah, good idea, Andrew. Thank you for that comment. How many questions? We've got a fair few questions. Right, how long have I got left? I've got 9 minutes left. I've got as many minutes left as I want. Hey, who's going to kick me off? So Ian Thomas, I agree with everything said. I subcontract to the local authority, 3 visit rat job in gardens, up to 10 a day, including first visit and follow-ups. My last BPCA audit said I do not have to do ERAs for these reactive jobs. True or false? So let me just read that again. So you subcontract to local authority. Great. You do rat jobs and gardens up to 10 a day, including the first visit. Your BPCA. So environmental risk assessments, I think it's a little bit different, but so this is probably quite a long answer. I'll try and shorten it. So in terms of the codes of practice and treatment reports, those premises where you're doing rat treatments for, the example you gave there, you need to leave those tenants with some information on what you've used. Now, in the code of best practice, again, you can download it and have a look at the wording specifically, but we do cover that. So we say, because I've done block treatments with, 100 flats within one block, I am not going to write out a full treatment report for every single person within that block. However, I've got to give them something. I can't just go, I can't be bothered. It's a lot of paperwork. Can't be bothered to do that. I need to give them something. So we used to have like flashcards, there was a quick, we visited today for this, it's all pre-printed. And then we just wrote in there what pesticide we used, if any, who to contact if they had a problem, and that we'll be back next week. And it's just a quick, in the door, off we go. Yes, the records of that was minimal, but that's very specific and very, you've got to manage it in a site-specific way, in a task-specific way. I'm happy to have a chat about that, but you need to leave them with something on what you've used, okay? You need to leave them something. And in terms of the environmental risk assessment, if you're using rodenticide outside, you have to do environmental risk assessment, full stop. Doesn't matter if you've got one job or 25,000 jobs a day, you have to do an environmental risk assessment. Again, you can create templates, you can create a process that makes it quicker and easier for you. It might be, the document, again, there's so many examples. I can't go through them all now, but you have to. There's no, I do this many jobs a day, so it's not practical. So therefore, environmental risk assessments don't apply. They do apply. Every site you go to, they do apply. Absolutely. But it's a big subject, so I won't go into any more on that. But by all means, Ian, if you're a member, give us a call. We can have a chat about it. If you're not a member, then I'll send you the application form. Just being honest, that's what I'm all about. But hopefully that's answered it a little bit. Okay. Are there any changes which Brexit has introduced, or are there situations where the UK can... I think you missed out a bit of the word there. But in terms of Brexit, blimey, yeah. changes are kind of they're still going through a lot of it, to be honest. The legislation, the do's and the hows and the whys and the wheres, it's still kind of going on. In terms of pesticides, watch this space. Can't really say anything more because I don't really know much more, to be honest. It's all sort of, but we'll make sure you're all right. Don't worry. And if we're not, blame Kat, not me. We will. Okay. This is from Namil. Kindly explain code of best practice related to the empty cans, empty bottles to discard if you're a small entity. So I think you're referring to waste there. And in terms of, again, speak to your suppliers. They're going to be the best one. I can't talk fully about waste again. Ooh, big subject. We've got a code, so go and have a look at that. And we've also got a guidance document. Now, if you're not a BPCA member, you won't be able to see that. If you are a BPCA member, we've got a guidance document that goes into more detail. But basically, if you've got pesticide residue left in any of your products, bottles, cans, whatever, then they're hazardous waste and you have to deal with them in a hazardous way. 200119 is the hazardous code that you use for it. And whoever your waste disposer is will obviously deal with that as they need to. If you triple wash them into your container or you feel that they're non-hazardous, then again, as a business, you still need to deal with that. You can't go and chuck them in your recycling bin outside your house because that's a domestic stream of waste. That the council would not be happy with that. You have to create your own business waste, which of course is going to be paid for. So hopefully that's answered that a little bit. Okay, let me find some. So rather than print all documents off from online, do BPCA supply a folder with all the codes of practice in it? So hard copy, we don't. No. I was thinking about that today, actually. Having these sort of fancy booklets. Codes of practice presented that way. But again, we're very much moving towards, environmental policies and things like that. I just think, do we want to be printing these things out and they're maybe not getting used and stuck at the back of a cupboard? And also when we update them, which we update yearly. So we have an activity once a year where we'll review our codes of best practice and go, oh, are these still relevant? Is there anything that needs changing? And a lot of the time, there's normally something that needs changing. So again, we don't really like to print them off because of those reasons. So no, we don't have them as a folder that you can print off. But of course, you can do that yourself, Mark. Okay, so Alberto, if the company where I work is certified to EN 16636, do you think this can be sufficient? I'm not sure what that refers to, Alberto. Sorry. Obviously, EN 16636, the audit, but I think what can be sufficient, if you can explain that a bit more. I'm not sure what that's in reference to. So this is from Alan Crompton, regarding treatment report signatures, hang on, there's too many do-dos. Regarding treatment report signatures, would you do it in the site you attend? Hang on. Sorry, Alan, I'm struggling with your message. So regarding treatment report signatures, would you do it at the site you attend is unmanned? Okay. So I think you're saying if your site is unmanned, then is it okay not to get it? But again, if you can do some form of electronic confirmation with a customer, I know, for example, rural locations, farms, I've been there, done that, where there's no one to be seen, or if there is, they're on a tractor, 700 meters up the way, and you don't really fancy trudging over there for safety reasons, as well as, maybe you get your boots dirty. So it can be tricky. I understand that, and it's a challenge to overcome. But if there's any electronic way that you can do that, or, it's a challenge to overcome, but generally, obviously, get someone to sign it. But I think it's something to think about. By all means, Alan, we can have a chat if you want. You've got my number, I think. Give us a little tinkle. Okay, so Julia, if we are doing works as a subcontractor, they ask us to send the reports directly to them and not left on site, commercial customers only. Is it down to our customer to have a copy of the reports sent, or do we insist that we have the report also emailed direct to site? So, Jude, just want to get that right. So you're doing some work so let's say you're doing some work from, let's say Natalie's Pest Control. Let's say I get you to do some work for me and say, oh, Julie, do you mind going and doing some Fox work over in, I don't know, Edinburgh? I'm too far away from me. Here's my treatment report information. This is the paperwork I want you to fill out because you're subcontracting. So you're doing it, but you're doing it on my paperwork. And then they ask us to send the report. So then I would say to you, maybe this is what you're saying, that I'm like, no, don't give the site a report. Send it to me instead, and then I'll sort it out from there. I think your question is that okay? That is an amazing question. I think you've actually stumped me in terms of what my response would be. My initial response is, well, no, the site needs to have a copy of that. You need to provide them with a copy of that. And that person that you're subcontracting from, they should understand that. I mean, I find that strange. So I think I've got your question right there, Julie. I'm sorry if I haven't. But yeah, it's a great question and a tricky one. But BPCA professional wise, there's got to be you've got to leave a report for them. And if the one you're subcontracting from doesn't want that, I'd kind of question their process. So, again, if they're a BPCA member, I'd have a chat with them and say, look, because we don't wave sticks. I don't, want to hit people with our codes of practice and say, naughty, get out. We don't do that. It's what's gone wrong? Let's help you with it. Let's adjust this. So yeah, we'll, hopefully that's answered it. Yeah, that was my poorest attempt so far, wasn't it? We're going over a little bit, but do you know what? You guys that are happy sticking around, I'm going to do a couple more questions. I've got 6 more. I don't know if I'll get through all of them, but do glue boards really need to be along with an MSDS? No, the glue boards don't have a manufacturer's safety data sheet. A risk assessment, absolutely. Do a risk assessment for the use of glue boards, but maybe I said something that made it sound like I was talking about manufacturer's safety data sheets with glue boards, but no, there's no pesticide, there's no MSDS. If it is, it's more guidance, isn't it? But risk assessment, absolutely. Can I download the treatment form template from BPCA as I am with basis prompt? I mean, the treat, if you want a code of best practice, you Stephen, you can absolutely access that. If you're basis prompt member but not BPCA member, then you won't get access to the guidance or the report template. That is only for BPCA members. So yeah, again, chat to me about membership. It's cheaper than you think. It's not. It is not. Don't know. Depends on you. But Stephen, yeah, it'd be great to have you on board if you're not already a member. So from Andrew, what training do I need to become a pest control officer? So legally, I mentioned CREW at the beginning, didn't I? The Campaign for Responsible Rodenticide Use. They've got a list of legally required qualifications that you need to have to be able to use rodenticide. So it's rodenticide specific. If you say done pest control and said, I'm never doing rodents, I'm never using rodenticide, full stop, out the window, then legally there's not much. However, professionally and BPCA criteria, it's the level 2 award in pest management. There's a certificate as well, but as a minimum, level 2 award in pest management is the professional standard. And yeah, everyone would and should expect that, and we certainly do. But legally, rodenticide. Okay. I think a couple of you were shooting off because you're having to get off, so I apologise. I've only got 4 left. You can stick around if you want to. Kat will come on and tell me off if there's someone else has got a meeting on. I think there might be, but hey, they can wait, can't they? We're more important. So Dave, to save printing off codes of practice for customers, it is a good idea to write BPCA web address for specific code of treatment report. Yeah, so yeah, you could have a list of codes that we have and put the relevant website link on it. That's a great idea. Yeah, fab, David. Thank you. So Hugh Radford, we have always thought that leaving an MSDS with a customer makes it very confusing as it is information overload and not really relevant. We supply the relevant info only. What is your opinion leaving MSDS with clients? So I'm clearing my throat because I've had to think. I absolutely agree with you, Hugh. MSDS, they're it's almost like a scientific document. It tells you the boiling point. It tells you, you know, where it's not really a guidance document. It's more for scientific impact on the environment. And also, of course, safety information about first aid measures and so on and so forth. But it's very, very long. And that's why a COSH assessment is better, because a COSH assessment is maybe 3 pages long maximum, that gets you to look at that MSDS and go, right, what's the important stuff on here? I'm going to put it on this COSH, smaller document, easier to read, and you can demonstrate that you read that MSDS and you as a user understands it, and you've demonstrated that by doing a COSH assessment. So yeah, really, really great. In terms of MSDS, some people still put it in site folders. We don't have a, we'll work again. We don't like that. We don't want you to do that. Of course, you can, but I do think COSH assessments are much better and definitely need to be considered over MSDS. I haven't been told off by Kat yet, so I'll carry on. I've got 2 more questions. So Fiddley's, Natalie, this isn't a question, okay, but just fine. But just reiterate the phrase professional pest management officer, PPMO, as a key title instead of pest control technician. I suggest BPCA and others still adopt. Yeah, I mean, we do. So our, obviously, Pest Control Association, that's been our name since 1942. Is that the right date? Yeah. Yeah, 1942. So a long time, to rebrand ourselves, it'd be ridiculous. And so that's why we haven't. But you'll probably notice that most other documents we have, we do refer as pest management, the pest management industry, the BPM manual, British Pest Management Manual, it's our technical documents. We do use the word management now rather than control. But yeah, we don't want to rebrand, really. Don't fancy it. Well, not that it'd affect me too much. It'd be our Marcoms. But so yes, absolutely. Good point, though. Good point. And last question, but not least, from Marco. Our treatment reports are electronic, and currently some clients are understandably reluctant to sign reports. So our technicians have made a note on the report sheet stating this, which hopefully will cover us in the event of a query. Of course, we email the documents and they are available to view on our client portal as and when required. So yeah, I mean, the email is proof, isn't it? You send an email and 2 months down the line, I come along and say, oh, Marco, where's this? Have you sent a copy to the customer? Yep, Natalie, no worries. There you go, bring up the email. There you go. I sent it to them on the 5th of, January 2021. Great, thank you for that. I can see you sent it. Fine, absolutely great. Why some customers wouldn't want to sign it, I don't know, but obviously COVID, so I think that's what you're relating it to. So yeah, of course, I've got some issues, but do what you can, much as you can, and great. Fab. I've got through all the questions. I'm only 7 minutes over. I felt naughty today. Oh, hang on. Can't get into the members area to see the template report sheet. It's not a good advert, is it? Well, if you give our main office a call, Oliver, they'll sort it out. They'll figure out why you can't get logged in. Yeah, might be you, might be someone else, but okay. Right, fab. I'm going to leave you all to it. Get on with your day. Have a lovely day. As I said, if you can donate to Prostate Cancer UK, please do. If you don't, I'll find you. Okay. See you all soon. Bye.